right. Um, Hello, friends. Welcome back to another Writer Speak Wednesday. I'm your host and MC for the evening, Rob Taylor. And tonight we're going to listen to a passage from Sifiso Mzobe. Before we start, if anyone's new here or you just forgot, the first several minutes of tonight, we're going to hear an excerpt from Sifiso from his novel, Young Blood. And then after, we're going to do a little Q&A. Sifiso Mzobe is a South African writer from the Durban township of Umlazi. He attended St. Francis College in Marion Hill, then studied journalism at Damelin Business Campus in Durban. His debut novel, Young Blood, was honored with the 2012 Wole Soyinka Prize for Literature, the 2011 Herman Charles Bosman Prize, and the Sunday Times Fiction Prize, just to name a few. I have a quote here from Alara Sadler from Cape Argus that I think best describes this novel. Young Blood is a sober account of the fate of many a young man. The question implied throughout is exactly how much young blood must be spilled before Sifo rediscovers integrity. All right. Now, without further ado, Sifiso Mzobe.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your writers speak Wednesday.
Yes, man, it's an honor.
So I just go, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So in this excerpt I will read, Sipo is what we call a young blood in our township of Umlazi. He's a young person with nothing to lose. He has dropped out of school, so he has joined the car hijacking syndicate. So now, in this chapter, with he is actually meeting most of the gang in the syndicate. He's meeting the top dogs in the syndicate. He is brought into the syndicate by his school friend, a guy he went to high school with. Was actually his best friend, who is in a car hijacking syndicate, and from through his association with this guy, he's roped into it. Sipo is good in fixing cars. He knows almost everything about that there is to know about the car engine. So the syndicate sees him as useful in this aspect. So now the chapter I will read is called Sibani, means light. I only saw gunfire. I was on Old Man Basa's treatment for 6 days. It was with a sense of relief that I boiled the last of the roots and tree bark. The roots caused no problem. The little I drank actually made me feel stronger. My problem was with the boiled tree bark. It was bitter on the palate, and the sheer volume of the liquid I took in was unbearable. Even worse was the vomiting. Every time it came out, my face felt like it was exploding. My father added more muti to my treatment, minty leaves that I boiled and steamed over while completely naked. I called those leaves my lung cleaner sauna because after each session my chest opened up considerably, something I had last felt when I was serious about soccer, in the time before cigarettes and weed. A ban on alcohol and sex was enforced during the treatment. Old man Bata had placed the ban, but my father enforced it with vigor. His stare locked onto me even when I went to the shops for airtime for my cell phone. I felt healthy though. That aspect of the treatment I did not fault. Every day I woke up with freaky freshness. There was also a lot of time on my hands, which I spent with my father under the cars in the backyard. Musa was delighted when I told him about my trip to Old Man Butter and the treatment. He passed by every night with weed for me and beer for himself. The lung cleaner sauna rejuvenated my lungs. They became strong again. I smoked weed without end. Do you have the list yet? Vusi called one morning, a day before I bade farewell to the rigors of my treatment. No, Vusi, I said, this is not good. We can only make cash if we move fast. Or am I the only one who thinks this way? You're telling the wrong person. Call Musa and tell him. I doubt if he's serious about this. Maybe he'll listen to you, because every time I call him, he says he will get the list soon. If he says so, maybe soon is not that far away. It's the way he says it, Sipo. How does he say it? So laid back, I'm beginning to doubt if the list even exists. Musa came by later that night, in clouds of wheat smoke by the blue wall. I told him about Vusi's call, but dedicatedly left out all the parts about doubt. Vusi must learn to calm down. I told him he will know when we have the list. I don't know what he called you for. He is overeager. We will get the list when you are done with your treatment. I just hope he did like you did. Most of these young crooks today don't believe in Muti, even though it works. This is one thing I learned in prison. Muti works. I saw people walk free from certain conviction because of it. Musa said, Muti, how do people get it in jail? Money. You get everything in jail if you have money. You will be surprised the thing you can get in jail with money. In our cell, we had a TV and a DVD player. We even had a cell phone. There is a whole other world behind those walls, people. It has its own rules and economy. Food is cheap. You get a whole chicken for 5 rand, but drugs are more expensive than on the outside. What were you in for? I said. I pulled 9 months for car theft. Bleeds by the blunt. Musa told me about his 9 months in prison. He left Joburg because the other shoplifters told him things were better there. For 3 months they really were. His graduation from shoplifter to car thief came within 2 months. As the perennial all-rounder, Musa excelled at car theft. By the third month in Joburg, he was working exclusively for a syndicate headed by Sibani. At the end of the third month, Musa was arrested in a stolen car. He never squealed about the syndicate. This raised his profile in Sibani's eyes. Welcomed with open arms by Sibani's connection in jail, Musa kept his mouth shut and absorbed the rules of the prison world. Only money really mattered, and the quickest brain was always the winner. Sibani sent him a weekly allowance of 100 rand, the note stuffed in a loaf of bread and delivered by a different person each time. It was no coincidence that Musa was placed in a cell with associates of Sibani. Everything is paid for in prison. What made you take the number? I said. I did not so much take it, it was given to me. This old man who controlled the cell, Sibani's friend, ran a tight ship. He sold weed. As a top 26 old timer, he ruled the cell and indeed the whole gang. The day I got my medal was one of those days when jail really feels like jail. The 26s went on a stabbing spree in the kitchen. The old timer gave the order because someone else was selling weed, and worse, he was a 28. On days like those in prison, when the gangs are at each other, that is when you see that you're actually in hell. The guards lock the doors and go home. Prisoners are left to themselves. The 28th retaliated. It went on through the night. A lot of people died that day. The corridors smelled of blood. The war went on until the early hours of the morning. In our cell, all the soldiers, the lowest rank in the gang, were out fighting on all fronts. The old man gave instructions to his two generals, who relayed these to four captains, who rushed out of the cell to tell the soldiers. So I'm sitting on my bed in the corner, me and these other guys in the cell, when 428s enter and head straight for the old timer. Everyone froze, even the generals. The old timer ran to our corner, pulled out two knives, and looked straight into my eyes. The 28th meant business. They had already disemboweled the two generals. The old timer gave me a knife and told me to stab them, and we did. This is how I became a 26th general. It was just spontaneous survival instinct. I stabbed until my hands trembled. Then I stepped some more. I don't want to talk about it anymore, people. Every time I think about it, the wind smells like blood. Should I go on?
It's up to you, man.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me go on. I was with Musa in the township of Chesterville when Sibani called. Musa was giving me a practical lecture on one of his many ways of making pocket money. It was the simplest of plans, really. He gave me 500 rands and I went to the merchant's house in Chesterville. The love affair between Mendrix fiends and housebreaking is age-old. There is nothing more unreliable than a Mendrix fiend, except perhaps Durban December weather. These boys will say their mouths dry and crackling white. We got this from the suburbs. Their cravings lead them to steal even from the neighborhood houses in their townships. The risk is tenfold in the townships, though. If they steal from the poor and get caught, death is usually sudden. Musa bought a DVD player and a digital camera for 700 rand. I bought a four-component music system for 500 rand. Then we went to the university up in Westville and opened shop. Musa made a 1,000 rand profit. I sold the music system for 1,500. I returned the Musa for 500. As we headed to the city to see Sibani, 1,000 rand was in my back pocket, the quickest pocket money I ever made. We were to find Sibani at the students' flats that make up most of what is Upper Berea. The flats were the flat house students from various tertiary institutions around Durban. Upper Berea was often hectic, but more so on Monday and Friday. The Musgrave Center up the road, the Durban University of Technology down the hill. It depended on your mood, really. Working girls drank at the mall, or tertiary girls weeded and drank at DUT. I got to see this list, Musa said, and looked at his arm to verify the flat number. Yes, then
Thank you, man.
thanks.
Got a little bit of extra too. I just love that. I just love that chapter, that section. Um, Musa, he's one of my favorite. Like he's just such a dynamic character in the story.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna start the Q&A. I'm gonna start the discussion. Um, so I know you like mentioned it in the email. This has nothing to do with the book. I know you mentioned in the email the other day that like it's pretty like late over there. Like what time is it right
Yeah.
now?
It's what? It's 1:15 in the morning, a.m. 1:15 a.m.
Oh man. So
No,
this is
it's
like
fine. I've been
so this
watching
is
soccer. I've
yeah,
been watching soccer for the longest time, so it's cool. And I took a nap in the afternoon, so I'm
right,
good.
right.
Yeah,
So this is like a late writer speak
yeah, it's
for you.
really late, bro. It's
But
really
it's
late.
but we're happy to have you here. Are you do you find yourself like mostly like writing like during the day or night?
When I was right before I got published, I wrote only at night. You know, I wrote only at night, but because I had like a set routine.
Mhm.
Where I was thinking, this is the time for to get inspiration and stuff like that.
Right.
But I found out later, when I was doing other work as well that has to do with writing, editing and translating and all of those things. I found that you can actually write anytime. You don't have to wait for inspiration.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, yeah. So I write anytime now. Anytime when I need to write, I write.
yeah, yeah. Because I all of my ideas are at night, and then like I try to write them. It's like, nah, it's not good.
So what? So you don't have the time. You don't have the time at night. Oh,
Yeah. So
yeah.
speaking about writing, Sifo, right?
Mm.
From the moment the book starts, like he just grabs you. Like he's such like a good character. Like just he just feels so real. Like I there's nothing more to say. Like he just feels like such a real character. Like a real person.
Mm.
Like I never once like 100 pages in, I forgot that it was even in first person. Like
Yeah.
like I was just along for the ride. Like he just reminded me of like so many people I knew growing up. Like just like I
Mm,
knew people that like was just like Sifo. And
mm,
even like with the craziness that goes on and like the gangs and like the violence and the, stealing the cars, like you just feel so real. Like I guess my question would be like, what was it like writing Sifo? Like, what was the process like coming
mm,
up with such like a full character like this?
mm. To tell you the truth, I grew up with a lot of people who are like Sipo in the township. But for the purposes of the book and in putting the message across, I had to I had to make him someone to tell the story. I had to make him someone who has one foot in the criminal life and one foot, in the ordinary life. So I had to make him that bit of a rounded character. But I really enjoyed writing this character, because even the other characters are the more glamorous ones, but I feel that he's the more rounded one. He's the more real one.
Yeah,
So I used quite like characteristics from different people I knew. I think that made like 70% of the character, and then the 30% was just pure imagination. So yeah, yeah. So for the purposes of telling the story, I from the onset I knew that I needed a character exactly like he is, who is real and who will resonate, when people read.
yeah, because there's definitely because like he easily could have just been like this, over the top like kingpin
Hmm.
guy. And
Yeah, true.
I never feel that. Like I feel like, he is this guy who kind of like gets in with the wrong crowd and like
Hmm.
you can see the weak moments, right? You highlight a lot of like um not like heroic qualities, like
Hmm.
of him. Like he's not really like this, you know, super bad guy, like like he's just feels like a person, like
Hmm.
and I just
True,
really like
true.
it.
Because in doing interviews as well, we know with guys who have been to prison and guys who are captives. That's actually what you get when you talk to them. Especially if you're from the community, because you have to understand that these are people we used to play soccer with when we were kids on the streets.
Right.
You know, these are the people we used to walk to school with when we were kids. And it's just, through life, as people grow up and their circumstances, that they choose this other route. So yeah, so I had to be real to be as real as possible to myself, to what I was seeing and what I was trying to put across.
Yeah. And like we also with like his connection like with family that like grounds
Mm.
him a little through it. Like
A
I
lot. I
think
think it
that
grabs him a lot because the other, like Musa, I think the other character Musa is just so over the top because he is not grounded by any of the family connections that
mhm,
that ground Sipo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get into like any spoilers or anything, but like when but when Sifo, there's this point in the story where like he goes to uh, uh Mandala. Mandala is
Old man,
the
old,
the old
which
the
one?
old man.
Oh,
The
the,
old
the, the,
man,
the traditional healer.
yeah, the traditional healer,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Old man
And
Baka. Yeah.
and going through that whole like process of like, staying clean and like trying to like it
Hmm.
just yeah, just really like the uh uh just seeing in the chat real quick if there's any questions.
Okay.
Uh okay, so I also had another question in terms of the style of the narration, right? There's moments where, when I was reading it, especially when it came to like the very like specific details about like the cars and the gangs. Like I really liked every time when you broke down like the different like numbers and the numbering and
Mm,
like the very you know just very specific like this gang like 26, 27, 28, like the
mm.
difference between them and like I never got lost, between like the different gangs and all their like affiliations. And I was thinking, I was like, when reading it, I was like, did like I wonder if he like wrote any like nonfiction, And then I saw like I read more about you, your bio, and saw that you study journalism. So like, do you find are there any parallels to the writing that you do, like fiction and like uh when you're writing for
Mm.
like nonfiction journalists?
I think I was lucky. See, I've always wanted to be a writer, like a fiction writer, and I was very good at it in school because all like my compositions were always read in class and all of that. But I studied journalism after high school, and journalism is so specific in just breaking the story down. You know, Rob, it's so specific in that you're taught there that you have to the four W's in telling your story. You have to do the four W's: the why, the when, the who, and what else? Oh my God, I forgot already.
Is it where?
But
Right.
yeah, it's the way. Yes, exactly. Oh, you're a journalist in your past life. So so you told all of those, and it breaks this. It makes it so clear when you're telling the story. And I think I had that as because I had that. It was important for me just to use that as well when I'm telling the story. Because it can be fiction, but you don't. I didn't want to lose the reader, especially because I was telling a story about a world that people, let alone people in other countries, people even in South Africa are not familiar about. So it was very important for me to have that clarity,
Yeah.
that clarity for the reader.
Oh, absolutely. Like, cause like I feel like, yeah, exactly. Clarity, just because it just adds to it. Like, I don't know anything about cars, like, but like I never let like I got so into it with just the different like models of the BMWs and like
Mm.
and just adding to that whole world. Um, yeah, and there's this is there's a question
Okay.
from Susie. I think it goes well with this. From Susan, she says, "I think there's something about the way the sentences sit against each other that makes the story feel so real and true. Is this a conscious process?"
Uh, yeah, yes, it is. I'm also obsessed with how a chapter should sound. I I go when I write, I go over and over and over and over until I don't even have a marker, but there's a point where it has to sound right to me,
Hmm.
so that I can say that I'm done with writing this chapter or this book or this essay. Because as well, it's when you're writing about the car chase, the sentences have to have that energy. According to what I think, it has to have that energy. It has to have that speed when it's actually very speedy in the novel, in the book itself, or in that passage. So yeah, I think it's a conscious. Yeah, I think it's a conscious decision.
Hmm. And was like, was there any time where you felt like, you know, like another conscious like decision? Like, was there any time that you felt I want to, I need to like research something that like, you know, uh, like to bring that clarity to it again, like that where it's like I want this to be a part of the story. I need to read this more to
Yes, I had to research quite a bit. I had to research about the numbers itself, because guys will talk about the gangs and everything, but there are secrets of the gang, and in order in order to know the secrets, you actually have to be a member of the gang. In order to be a member of the gang, you have to be initiated and all of that. But luckily enough, I had a friend who was fed up with the gangs, and
mhm,
he just wanted to spill the beans to me of everything that goes on. So in order to tell the story, but even in this passage that I was reading, I mean, it's a fictionalized account of what actually happened to one of the guys. So in finding research, it helps to build, make the story more authentic, and the cars as well. Instill how the guys actually steal cars. I had to research that, but it's not so hard, Rob, because in Umlazi, it's like the car stealing capital of our province. The young guys here, all they do, or the hustling that they do, is stealing cars, and they're quite good at it. So you'll be chilling at the shops, because there's a place you call it barbecue in the states, but we call it shisanyama here, where you can just sit and eat meat and have your drinks, and
mhm,
then the guy will pass by there. Maybe one of your friends knows him, and he'll tell you he stole this car yesterday, and you just peek inside and see what they did to the ignition and all of that. So yeah, yes, I had to research quite a bit, but some of it was right here. Was right in, just within reach for me, because I
right,
live in the area.
right.
Mm.
And that again, like you said, like that's that just the inspiration of just what's around you.
Yeah,
Just makes
true,
your
man.
mind run. Yeah.
Yeah, man, true. Just it's just around, So I had to be true to the story as well when I was writing it.
Hmm.
I had to be authentic to that feeling, because these guys have to read. They read the book in the end. So they'll tell. I knew they would tell me if there was something that was off.
But it feels rich though. Like when like it feels. Do you think that like this like subject matter and like a different story, different like kind of view? Do you think that you would still feel like I already know this question, but do you feel like you like can like uh, gather more inspiration from just the scene?
Yes, you do. Yeah, I think. Yeah, yes, you do. You get a lot of inspiration from the scene of just the township and everything that's around. There's so many stories that you can tell. Because in as much as there's the story of crime, there are stories of love as well. There's
Yeah,
stories of love. There's stories of people with dreams. It's quite inspirational.
yeah,
You just walk around, and there's something you can tell. There's something you can tell about a situation. Some of it, most of the time, it's not good, but some of it is very good. It will have you believing in the human spirit.
yeah, yeah. You say love, like I just remembered the relationship he has with Nana, you know,
Mm.
and just how like that felt like true too. Like that felt like that type of love felt like honest for that character and like their conflict with each other. Yeah, yeah. All right, so this is a question from Paul. I think you know he says, I know at one point Sifiso was planning to write a companion novel from a police officer's point of view. Is that still in the works? Is that like behind the
Uh,
scenes?
yes, that's still very much in the works. That's still very much in the works. I believe I could have finished it, but I think it was overtaken by my collection of short stories that came out last year. And those, they just felt so urgent. They just it's they just came out of the blue and overtook everything. But the story is there. The story is always still there. I'm still working on it. I'm chipping away at it. Well,
Yeah.
it beats at the time. But yeah, I think it's coming good. It's coming good. It's coming good. I like what I've put down so far because it will be quite different from Young Blood. It's more of like of going inside the mind. Something I learned from Tinkers, by the way.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, but it's still in the works.
Yeah. Oh, man. That would be, I mean, from someone who just like read it, just read the book, that'd be really cool. Especially like the scene. I'm just thinking about the scene in the prison where they like lock all the doors,
Mm.
and they just let the gangs like get at it with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, yeah, man, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I hope this is a thing.
Yeah, I need to finish it soon, man, because my publisher has been hounding me about it for the longest time. So I just need a bit of time to just
Yeah,
work at it. Yeah.
yeah. We love deadlines, all
Oh my word, I hate deadlines.
right.
Nothing more I hate than a
Um,
deadline, bro.
I could never stay to never stay to it. I actually wanted to ask you before we go, like about the short story collection.
Mm.
Um, what was that like? Because I saw like I saw that like that 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 it just came out like a
Mm.
short story collection or recently. Um,
Yeah, it came
what was
out.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, the short story collection came about from the short stories that I've been writing over the years. So my publisher was he was like, "Where's the next novel?" And I said, "Hey, it's not finished yet." And they were like, "Do you have anything at all?" And I was like, "I have the short stories." So the short stories came apart from that. I just I love writing short stories, and it was just something that it's something that I always do whenever I'm working on something. Whenever I'm working on something long like a novel, I write short stories here and there. So, but in the short stories, they're quite eclectic. Eh? They're very eclectic in that I have a female character in the she's in maybe four of this I think four of the stories. She's a
Mhm.
female detective, like a
Okay.
township detective who's young, who's young in her early 30s, just solving crimes. So I was trying to challenge myself to write a female character. And some of the stories, there's a bit of a love story there as well, and some yeah, but it's quite eclectic, different things. I wanted to try different things, in fact. So yeah, that's how it came about, and it came out last year at the height of the first wave of the COVID.
Yeah.
So it was hard to promote it and all of that, but it's gaining traction now
Right.
as more people find out about it.
Yeah, man. Like I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Please do.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely
Please
gonna check it
do.
out. Um,
Thanks, man.
as someone who just like wrote uh, a novel from
Mm.
like with a woman character that I've never done before, uh,
Mm.
like until now. What was that like for you? Like,
It was interesting. It was quite interesting and hard because you don't want to sound like condescending or you know you want to sound genuine.
yeah,
But it was just I was just challenging myself, but I don't think I can do it in a longer piece. I really don't. I think it would be very difficult to do it in a longer piece
yeah,
because the women have their own truths. This I feel sometimes only they are allowed to tell. Or I don't know if I'm putting it correctly, But
No,
that's what I
no.
think. But how was it for you?
Yeah, definitely the genuine part is
Mm,
this was something that I always thought about, like just never wanting to make it feel like, like here's just some guy coming
yeah,
in,
yeah, yeah.
coming in, just writing whatever, it was always about like trying to make it feel like it was
Mm,
a person, and not like I was just trying to write
yeah.
for like,
From the outside looking in kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. Like I always wanted to make it just feel like it was a person.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
And
oh, what's the story about, like the premise?
oh man, now it's like a
Short
reverse.
synopsis.
It's a reverse Reddit speak now. It's just it's this woman, she has poison. She can make
Mm.
poison, from her body, and like,
Okay.
it's just her relationship with this man through the years. It's a coming of age
Oh
story
yes.
where she is dealing with, you know, having this like inebriating like poison, you know.
Mm.
So how she deals with that, and growing up as a from a young person out of college, how
Yeah.
that is. So.
So how did you research it, Rob?
Yeah,
How was the researching process? Oh my word. I was just thinking, yo.
yeah. So speaking about COVID, like, do you have any like before we go, like, have you been writing since then? Like, do you have any advice for people writing during this time?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. I've been writing. I haven't stopped writing, especially because I work with an organization that promotes reading, to young people, reading for pleasure. Because, most young people only read because they have to do it for school but
Right,
this organization is trying to promote reading just for pleasure. So I
right,
work a lot with that. I try to mentor young writers. We do translations as well and do content editing. So everything I do is just has to do with writing, and I write my own stuff as well. So I have quite a few short stories as well that I'm trying to get to that level where they can be published into a collection, another collection, and yeah, and the white elephant is always there, the next novel. So I'm trying to chip away at it. For my, what my advice for writers is, just go it, just do it, man. Just try, just try to do it, and try to and learn from other writers. I mean, with what we do, we get a lot of young people who, you can see they have a great imagination. They have a great story, but you can tell from their writing that they do not read. They don't like to read. But it's strange because I found that in my own journey, reading was my greatest teacher of writing. So so if you want to be a writer, you have to read other writers. You have to read other writers and try to get lessons from them. That's the
right.
only thing, because it's like the library is all there. You know, it's just you have to go and read.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thanks so much, Sifiso, for
Thank
coming
you,
out
Rob, man.
and talking. It's a great conversation. Young Bloods is great. Everyone, please check it out. And your short story collection. What was the name of it again?
Searching for Simpiwe. Searching for Simpiwe. I hope they can get it, man. I know it just named is strange.
Nah, it's fun.
Just
It's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But people will learn, they will learn. So
That
it's
that
searching
that
for
adds
Simpiwe.
to it. That adds to it. They can find it out.
Okay, thanks, man.
But thanks so much, everyone. It's Fiso for coming out tonight. Tune in. I think the next writer speak is gonna be May 5th. The student reading. All right. So this is great. Thank you. And
No, thank you for
we're
having me, bro. Thanks.